It's been a while since I've sat down and just listened to raw, unfiltered Reddit stories. Not the wholesome ones, not the feel-good kind. I mean, the stories people only tell when enough time has passed, when the anger has cooled, the consequences are settled, and all that's left is the truth. Tonight, I've gathered a handful of those stories about revenge, not the cinematic kind, not the heroic kind, but the messy, human kind. The kind that starts with patience, builds through quiet resentment, and explodes at exactly the wrong or right moment. Some of these end in justice, some end in regret. Some end in irony, so perfect it almost feels scripted. And the scariest part, every single one of these could have been avoided if one person had just chosen not to be an asshole. So while you sit back, relax, and let these stories unfold, remember, sometimes the smallest actions, a single comment, a careless decision, are all it takes to trigger a chain of events that can't be undone. Let's begin. Timing is everything in life. Sometimes it ruins you. Sometimes it saves you, and sometimes, if the universe is feeling generous, it hands you the cleanest revenge you didn't even have to plan. This happened quite a few years ago. Back when I was a brand new parent, my first child was only a few months old. I was exhausted, emotionally wrecked, running on caffeine, hope, and not much else to keep everything afloat. I worked a couple of jobs. One of them was an evening job at a small liquor store. Honestly, it was a great job. Nice little place. Good customers. Chill atmosphere. I closed up every night around midnight, then went home to whatever sleep a new parent is allowed to have. Everything about that job was good, except her. She wasn't the owner. She wasn't the manager, but she thought she was. She had worked there forever, knew all the routines, and guarded the place like a dragon sitting on a pile of resentment. From the moment I started, she hated me. No explanation. No incident. Just instant hostility. She was territorial, bitter, and constantly looking for reasons to assert authority. She didn't officially have. Her teenage daughter also worked at the store, and even she didn't know why, her mother disliked me. I got along with everyone else. Customers, co-workers, delivery drivers, just not her. I put up with it because, aside from her, I genuinely liked the job. And the owner, super easygoing, appreciated my work, but he relied on her, and because of that, he never wanted to cross her. So I swallowed it until one morning, the night before, I had put away a dairy order, milk, cream, the usual stuff. Apparently, one carton had a tiny leak. I didn't notice. By morning, there was a mess. And when she opened the store and saw it, she lost her mind. She didn't pull me aside, didn't ask what happened. She went off on me right behind the counter, loud enough for customers and staff to hear. She accused me like I'd sabotaged the place on purpose. I stood there, sleep-deprived, overworked, and done. I looked her straight in the eye, and with the biggest smile I could force onto my face, I said, nice and loud, "Hasn't anyone ever told you that you shouldn't cry over spilled milk?" The silence afterward was beautiful. Her face went red, then purple. I realized immediately. That felt great. But I'd just signed my own death warrant. She wanted to physically harm me after that. So I made a decision. It was time to leave. But I didn't want to just quit. I wanted it to hurt. I checked the calendar behind the counter. Her vacation was marked off. She'd been counting down to it for weeks. And that's when everything lined up. I found another job, a better one. And the best part, I was able to give my 2 weeks notice exactly 2 weeks before her vacation was scheduled to start. Perfect, immaculate, chef's kiss. The day I handed in my notice, I was smiling ear to ear. I made sure I was standing where she could see me. The owner read it, nodded, and then turned to her. He said, "You're going to need to postpone your vacation until we find a replacement." Her eyes snapped to me. Daggers. Pure. Murderous rage. It was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. She didn't scream. She didn't argue. She just stood there, realizing that her long-awaited break had evaporated and there was nothing she could do about it. I clocked out that night, lighter than I'd felt in months. That sometimes revenge doesn't need yell or confrontation. Sometimes it's just perfect timing. I've taken revenge exactly once in my life. Not the clever kind. Not the clean kind. The kind fueled by exhaustion, heat, alcohol, and years of swallowing disrespect. And somehow, the universe decided to wipe it away like it never happened. This was many years ago, when I worked as a barman in my friend's pub. His name was Wayne. Brilliant manager. Ran multiple pubs, and I worked in 4 of them over the years. This particular pub was always busy, the good kind of busy. The kind that makes your feet ache and your brain go numb by closing time. One of our regulars was a retired man named Dennis. Dennis was old, always wore a shirt and tie, even to the pub. Polite, quiet, respectful. He cleaned the car park and the garden in exchange for beer. Never complained, never asked for more. Everyone liked Dennis. Then there was Brad Daw. If Dennis was everything good about humanity, Brad was a walking argument against it. You know, the type shot, slimy, leering, half-closed eyes, like he was permanently unimpressed with the world. Brad believed bar staff existed to serve him personally. Snap your fingers, bark an order, roll your eyes if it took more than 5 seconds. And when a pub is packed, hot, loud, and relentless, people like Brad make your blood boil. Wayne used to let staff stay after hours, a drink or 2 once the doors were locked. Some customers stayed behind as well. One night, Brad was among them, drunk, loud, oversharing like a human nightmare. At one point, he proudly told us how his girlfriend, a nice-looking woman, but absolutely unhinged once, had to remove his sex toy from his back passage using her fingernails. Apparently, it was too far in. That story burned itself into my brain. Even now, decades later, I wish I could delete it. For context, that girlfriend carried a carving knife in her handbag. I made a point never to upset her. Anyway, when the pub was locked up, the only exit was through a side door near the private living quarters that led to the bins and my car. That night, I was the last one out, and someone had stacked 8 or 9 empty boxers on my car. Roof, bonnet. Boot. No damage. Just effort. I moved them, shrugged it off. Some idiot having a laugh. I forgot about it until the following weekend. Brad was in again, smug, grinning goo. He leaned over the bar and said, "You get your car out okay the other night." I asked why. "Well," he said, smiling, "you looked boxed in to me." And there it was. Confirmation. I didn't react. Just shook my head and ignored him for the rest of the night. Weeks passed. Months, maybe. Then one night, after another after-hours session, I went out to my car and found it covered in carrot and potato peelings. Not just tossed on, smeared. Whoever did this had rummaged through the bin deep. I had to knock on the door to get a dustpan and brush. Mattie's wife came out and was horrified. She confronted Brad later. He laughed. That's still no proof. But I knew. Then came August bank holiday. Perfect weather. Rare miracle for the UK. The pub was rammed from morning until night. Garden full. Sun blazing. I worked from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. nonstop. By the end, I was drenched in sweat and rage. Wayne and Maria had a Staffordshire Bull Terrier named Red. Could produce. Every week. Maria had to scoop his deposits from the flat roof above the toilets. That day, she'd bagged 2 carrier bags full and left them near the rubbish. End of the night. We're sitting down. Exhausted. Brad is still there. Drunk. Loud. Obnoxious. I leave last. And my front tire is almost flat. That snapped me. Boxers. Fine peelings. Disgusting but manageable. Letting down my tire after a 9-hour shift. No. Wayne came out when he heard me swearing. I was shaking with anger. Brad lived nearby, in a place called The Castle, worked subcontracting for British Gas, drove a transit van parked in the residence car park. I looked at Wayne, then at the 2 bags of Red's crap. He said, "No, don't." I said, "FK him, he's AC." And I picked up the bags. Wayne followed me up the road, trying to stop me. We reached the car park. There was Brad's van. Opened the first bag and smeared it across the windscreen. What fell? I pushed into the air intake vents. Left the empty bag there. Second bag went behind door handles, over rear windows. I threw the bag on top. We walked back. Wayne was laughing now. I was still furious. That night, I slept like the dead. The next day, Sunday, I pumped my tire and went to the pub, fully prepared to face Brad Heaton show. Then Wayne called me over. Dennis. Remember Dennis? Dennis cleaned the castle's car park. That morning, he'd found Brad's van covered in dog crap and cleaned it all off. Dennis said, "I don't understand why anyone would do that. He's such a nice man." I was gutted. Absolutely gutted. Brad never knew it was me. And Dennis good. Kind Dennis zeros to my revenge. To this day. Brad died last year, saw it on Facebook, and he never knew. The only consolation, Dennis had no way of cleaning crap out of air intake vents. So hopefully, every time Brad turned on the fan, the smell reminded him the universe hated him. I did feel bad for Dennis. Bought him a few pints over the next weeks. And the real kicker, the tire, I'd picked up a nail. No one let it down, so sorry. Dennis. And up yours, Brad. I didn't wake up that day planning to destroy someone's life. I woke up thinking about rent, coffee, and how long my shift was going to feel. But sometimes life lines up the perfect storm, and all it takes is one asshole to flip the switch. This was about 15 years ago when I worked at a hydroponic store, the kind of place that smells like plastic tubing, new Toriento solution, and quiet secrets. Officially, we sold supplies for growing tomatoes. Unofficially, yeah. Nobody was fooling anyone. Most customers were careful, polite, nervous. They didn't want attention. They didn't want problems. They paid in cash, avoided eye contact, and said thanks like it mattered. But then there was him. He came in for the first time like he owned the place. Loud voice, confident swagger, no hesitation. He bought big hundreds of dollars at a time. Lights, grow tents, fans, nutrients in quantities no sane person needs for tomatoes. And from day one, he was a nightmare. He snapped his fingers to get attention, talked to us like we were stupid, corrected us on products he clearly didn't understand. You know, the kind of guy who thinks money makes him untouchable. We tolerated it because management tolerated it. Because big spender means free pass. Until the day he decided the rules didn't apply to him. He walked in carrying a box and slammed it on the counter like a threat. I want a refund. I checked the receipt. Item was opened, used, past the return window, clear as day. I'm sorry, I said, calm, professional. That's against store policy. His face changed instantly. The smile disappeared. His jaw tightened. He leaned forward like he was daring me to blink. You're gonna refund it, I explained again. Slowly, clearly, still calm. That's when he laughed. Not a friendly laugh. A sharp, mocking one. Call your owner. So I did. And this is the moment where everything snapped. Instead of backing me up, the owner folded on speakerphone in front of the customer. He told me I should have used better judgment, told me I embarrassed the store, told me to process the refund immediately. I stood there, phone in my hand, feeling like the smallest person in the room. The customer, he was loving it. He didn't say a word. He just smiled. That slow, smug smile of a man who knows he just won. From that day on, he was unbearable. Every visit, worse than the last. He talked down to me, mocked me, corrected my wording, smirked when I spoke. He knew the owner wouldn't protect me. What he didn't realize was that store policy still gave me leverage. See, because of the amount he was buying, we had to do special orders. And for special orders, we were legally required to collect customer information, name, phone number, address, The first time I asked him, he hesitated, just a second. I smiled and said, store policy. He rolled his eyes and gave it to me. And as I typed his information into the system, something clicked, because nobody buys that much equipment by accident. Nobody grows that many tomatoes for fun. This wasn't a hobby. This was an operation. And suddenly, I wasn't angry anymore. I was patient. Weeks went by, months. Every time he came in, I stayed polite, professional, neutral, inside. I was collecting purchase dates, quantities, patterns, Then one day, on my lunch break, I walked outside, sat in my car, and stared at my phone for a long time. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't panicking. I was calm. I called the police tip line. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't lie. I didn't add drama. Just gave facts, a name, an address, a purchasing pattern, and when I hung up, I went back to work like nothing happened. Honestly, I almost forgot about it. Weeks passed, then months, no news, no calls. I convinced myself it was pointless. Until one afternoon, a coworker burst into the store, eyes wide. "Dude," he said, "you hear about that guy?" My stomach dropped. Police had raided his place. Lights everywhere, plants everywhere, full setup. He was arrested on the spot, charged, and eventually convicted. I sat there behind the counter, staring at nothing, letting it sink in. The guy who treated everyone like garbage, a guy who thought money made him untouchable, guy who smirked while my boss threw me under the bus. He lost everything. I thought that was the end of it. But then the call came. An officer thanked me for the tip. And then he said something I didn't expect. "There's a reward. $500. I actually laughed. Not because of the money, but because the universe had written the cleanest punchline imaginable. That man didn't just get arrested. He didn't just lose his operation. He paid me for the privilege. Here's the twist. Nobody expects. I didn't feel guilty. Not even for a second. Because if you're doing something illegal, something that could ruin your life, maybe, just maybe, don't be a dicto. The people will have nothing to lose, especially the ones smiling quietly behind the counter. Title: I paid an Etsy, which $15 to put a revenge spell on my nightmare roommate as a joke. I think it's actually working and I'm terrified. The context: I too, 4F, have been living with Vanessa, 25 farado, for 8 months. To call her a nightmare is an insult to nightmares. Vanessa is the kind of person who uses your expensive shampoo to shave her legs, leaves dishes in the sink until they grow mold, and borrows clothes without asking, returning them stained or not at all. But last week, she crossed a line. I came home to find my cat, Luna, locked on the balcony. It was 35 degrees Fahrenheit, 2 degrees Celsius outside. Luna had been out there for 6 hours because Vanessa didn't want the cat walking on the counters while she was cooking. She was microwaving a burrito. Luna is fine, but I was shaking with rage. I screamed at her. She laughed and told me to chill out. It's just a cat. I can't break the lease without paying $3,000, which I don't have. I felt powerless. 2 nights ago, after a bottle of wine, I was scrolling Etsy. I found a shop called the Obsidian Circle. It had 3 stars and sold the baneful mirror reflecting karma hex. Description: does someone deserve a taste of their own medicine? This spell reflects their negative energy back onto them tenfold. No physical harm. Just a pure chaotic misfortune. 14点九九愛はふと糸. I typed in Vanessa's name and birth date, which I knew from the lease. I laughed, closed my laptop, and went to sleep. I assumed I just wasted $15 on a scented candle scam. The first incident: yesterday morning, Vanessa woke up late. Her alarm didn't go off. She rushed out the door, and I watched this happen. The heel of her favorite boot snapped off as she stepped onto the porch. She fell into a mud puddle. I chuckled. Coincidence, right? Then she came home early. Apparently, her car got towed because she parked in a no parking zone she has parked in for 6 months without issue. She's currently in her room screaming on the phone. Top. Comments. User 1. It's called confirmation bias. OP. You're just noticing her bad luck now because you paid for it. Enjoy this show. User 2. $15 for that level of instant karma. Drop the link. I have a boss who needs this. User 3. Be careful. The rule of 3 says whatever you send out comes back to you 3 times harder. You might want to cleanse your apartment. Update 1. The insects. And the exit's been 4 days since I bought the spell. Things have gone from bad luck to statistically improbable disasters. Day 2. Vanessa came home crying. She got fired. Not just fired, humiliated. Apparently, she sent a reply all email complaining about her boss to her boss. She swears she didn't send it. She says her email Day 3. This is where it gets gross. We have never had bugs in this apartment. We are on the 4th floor. Yesterday, Vanessa screamed from the bathroom. I ran in. Her shower drain had backed up, but it wasn't water. It was hundreds of dead ants, just sludge and ants. The plumber came today. He said there was no blockage in the main pipe. It was only in the trap directly under the shower. He couldn't explain it. Day for today, Vanessa's boyfriend, Chad, who is equally awful, came over to comfort her. They were in her room. Suddenly, I hear a massive crash and shouting. I guess Vanessa was trying to light a candle to relax. The match head flew off, landed on Chad's brand new limited edition sneakers, and melted a hole right through the mesh. Chad freaked out. Then he looked at Vanessa and said, "Honestly, you are bad vibes lately. I can't be around this negative energy." He broke up with her on the spot. I checked my Etsy account to message the seller just to see if this was real. The shop, the Obsidian Circle, is gone. It says shop is currently taking a break. I'm starting to feel guilty. She's awful, but she's losing everything. Tub, Cummins, User 1. The ants. That's classic witchcraft. Infestation is a sign of rot. User 2. Do not feel guilty. She locked your cat in freezing weather. This is justice. User 3. The reply all email glitch is the modern version of a curse. The spirits are tech-savvy now. Update 2. The smell and the shadow eye. AM officially freaking out. Vanessa hasn't left her room in 24 hours. She looks terrible. Pale, dark circles, shaking. She came into the kitchen this morning while I was making coffee. Vanessa, do you smell that? Me. Smell what? Vanessa. It smells like burning hair. It's everywhere. It's in my sheets. It's in my clothes. I smelled nothing. I sniffed her arm. Awkward. She smelled like expensive perfume. Me. I don't smell anything. Vanessa, you're lying. IT stinks. She started scrubbing her arms in the sink with dish soap until her skin was red. The scariest part, last night, I woke up at 3 a.m. to get water. I walked past her door. It was slightly ajar. I heard her whispering, "Leave me alone. Stop standing there. Please stop standing there." I pushed the door opened an inch. She was sitting up in bed, staring at the corner of the room. There was nothing there, just her pile of laundry. But the way she was staring, her eyes were wide, unblinking. She looked like prey. I went back to my room and tried to find the Etsy seller's email. I found the receipt in my spam folder. I replied, "Please stop the spell. It's enough." I take it back. I got an automated bounce back immediately. Address not found. Domain does not exist. I burned sage this morning. The smoke didn't go up. It just hovered near the floor. I don't know if that's physics or magic, but I'm sleeping at my boyfriend's house tonight. Update 3. The climax scene writing this from my empty apartment. It's finally over, but I'm still shaken. 2 days ago, I came home to find the apartment door wide open. I walked in and the place was trashed. Not robed dishes smashed on the floor. The sofa overturned. I heard screaming from Vanessa's room. I ran in. Vanessa was huddled in the corner, holding a pair of scissors. She had cut all of her hair off. It was jagged, short, and patchy. Me. Vanessa, what are you doing? Vanessa, they won't stop crawling on me. She was scratching at her arms. There was nothing there. No bugs. No ants. I called 911 immediately. The paramedics came. They had to sedate her. They took her for a psychiatric evaluation. Her parents drove down from out of state and are handling everything now. They packed up her stuff yesterday. The discovery. After the movers took her bed away, I was sweeping her empty room. I saw something wedged between the baseboard and the carpet. It was a small black cloth bag. It looked old. I opened it. Inside was a clump of my hair from my hairbrush, a photo of me with the eyes scratched out, a piece of paper with bankruptcy and sickness written on it in Vanessa's handwriting. She had been trying to hex me. I suddenly remembered the description of the spell I bought on Etsy. The baneful mirror reflects their negative energy back onto them tenfold. It didn't create new bad luck. It just took whatever she was trying to send to me and bounced it back at her face like a rubber ball. The burning hair smell she complained about. She was burning a hex candle for me? The bugs? She probably tried to put them in my room and they infested hers instead. Top comments. User 1. Holy S. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The mirror spell wasn't a metaphor. It literally reflected her own hex. User 2. You didn't curse her, Opie. You just bought spiritual riot gear. She took herself out. User 3. This is the most satisfying thing I've ever read. She dug her own grave and fell in. Final update. Peace title. Final update, the dust has settled. No more Etsy magic for me. The apartment is quiet. The air feels lighter. My cat, Luna, is currently sleeping in the spot where Vanessa's bed used to be, purring loudly I haven't heard from Vanessa. But her mom texted me to apologize for the damage to the apartment and said Vanessa is getting the help she needs. At a facility. I checked Etsy one last time today. The shop, the Obsidian Circle, is still gone. But when I looked at my bank statement to see the charge, it wasn't there. There is no record of me ever paying $14.99 to Etsy. I don't know if I dreamt the purchase or if the universe just gave me a free trial of justice. Either way, I'm never messing with magic again. But I am keeping the black bag I found, just in case I need to return to sender again. I need ideas on how to subtly bully my sister's mill. She's destroying my sister's confidence, and I'm done playing nice. The context. My sister Sarah 26F married Jack 28M 2 years ago. Jack is a decent guy, but he has a spine made of jelly when it comes to his mother, Linda 50S. Linda is the classic boy mom. She thinks no one is good enough for her son. For 2 years, Linda has made passive-aggressive comments about Sarah's weight. Her job, Sarah is a graphic designer. Linda thinks that's drawing cartoons, and her cooking. Sarah is too polite to fight back. Last week, Sarah called me crying because Linda came over, ran a finger over the top of a door frame, and asked if Sarah needed money for a maid since she clearly couldn't handle the housework. That was the breaking point. I am going to stay with them for a month while my apartment is being renovated. I want to make Linda's life miserable, but I need to do it subtly. I want to gaslight her into submission. I want her to fear me, but in a way that makes me look like a concerned angel. Give me your best psychological warfare tactics. Comments. User 1. Treat her like she's incredibly old and senile. Every time she insults someone, act worried about her confusion. User 2. Kill her with kindness, but the kind of kindness you give a toddler. Explain jokes to her loudly. User 3. Mispronounce her name slightly every time. When she corrects, you just laugh and say, sure, okay. Update 1. The concern strategy begins, so I took your advice. I decided the best way to bully Linda was to express extreme concern for her failing mental faculties. The dinner incident. Linda came over for dinner last night. She started her usual routine. She looked at the roast chicken Sarah made and said, "Oh, it's a bit dry, isn't it? Jack usually likes his meat more tender." Sarah looked crushed. I immediately dropped my fork with a loud clatter and gasped, "Me." Looking terrified, "Oh my God, Linda, are you okay?" "Linda, what?" "I'm fine." I just said, "The chicken is dry." "Me?" Turning to Jack, "Have you noticed this happening often? The loss of taste is usually the first sign." "Linda, I haven't lost my taste. It's dry." "Me?" Voice dropping to a sympathetic whisper, "It's okay, Linda. We don't have to pretend." "Sarah, maybe we should blend her portion. It might be easier for her to swallow if her throat muscles are weakening." Linda turned beet red. "I do not need blended food. I am perfectly healthy." I patted her hand condescendingly. "Of course you are. Just take your time chewing. We can wait." For the rest of the dinner, every time she tried to speak, I smiled encouragingly like she was a toddler learning a new word. She barely spoke. Score: me. 1. Linda. 0. Update 2. the hearing aid. Escalation have been staying here for a week now. Linda came over again, determined to regain control. She decided to attack me this time since I embarrassed her at dinner. We were in the living room. Linda asked me, "So, how is your little job going? Still answering phones?" I am a project manager. Instead of getting mad, I acted like I didn't hear her tone. I leaned in aggressively, close stopped me, yelling, "IT is going great, Linda. Thanks for asking. How is your garden?" She recoiled. "Why are you shouting? I'm right here." Me. Turning to Sarah, "Normal volume, did she say something?" I think she's struggling to hear the lower frequencies. It happens with age. Me? Back to yelling. I said, "The job is good." Linda looked furious. "I am not deaf. Stop shouting." Me? Sad face Linda. Denial is part of the process. "I can help you set up an appointment. They have very discreet hearing aids now. No one even has to know." Later, Jack, my Bill, actually asked her, "Mom, have you been having trouble hearing? You didn't answer me when I walked in earlier." She ignored him because she was sulking, but now he thinks she literally didn't hear him. She stormed out early. Sarah was laughing so hard she had to go to the bathroom. Update 3. The climax. The birthday party this weekend was Linda's 60th birthday. The whole extended family was there. Aunts, uncles, cousins. This was the main event. I bought her a gift. It was a beautiful, expensive-looking journal. But inside, I had printed out a list of memory exercises for seniors and bookmarked the page. The setup. Linda was holding court, telling a story about Jack's childhood. She was clearly embellishing to make herself look like a saint and Sarah look like an outsider. She mentioned a vacation they took in 2010. Me. Interrupting politely, "Oh, Linda, that's so funny you remember it that way? Jack, didn't you say that trip was actually in 2012? And wasn't it raining the whole time?" Jack! Yeah, I think it was 2012. Me? Looking around at the relatives with a pained expression. Oh dear, she's mixing up the timelines again. "The knockout," Linda snapped. "I know when the trip was. Why are you constantly treating me like I'm invalid?" The room went silent. This was my moment. Me. Tears forming in my eyes. I practiced this, Linda. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. We're all so worried. You've been forgetting things, your mood swings, crying out about dried chicken. We just want you to be safe. I pulled out the gift. Here, I got you this. It's supposed to help with cognitive retention. Please, just try it. For Jack. Her sisters, the aunts, immediately swarmed her. "Oh, Linda, is that true? Have you been forgetting things? You do look a bit tired, dear. Maybe you should see a specialist." Linda looked around the room. She realized that if she screamed at me, she would look like the unstable, moody old woman I was painting her to be. If she accepted it, she admitted defeat. She took the journal. She whispered a tight, "Thank you." She spent the rest of the party sitting quietly, terrified that if she made a snarky comment, I would diagnose her with something else in front of everyone. Final update. The aftermath. It's been 2 weeks since the birthday party. Linda has visited twice. The first time, she started to criticize the cleanliness of the windows. I simply walked into the room, held up a bottle of Windex, and asked, Linda, do you recognize this object? She immediately shut her mouth and complimented the curtains. Sarah tells me that Linda is now terrified of me. She told Jack that I am disrespectful, but Jack, who is finally seeing the light, told her, Mom, she's just worried about your health. You have been acting odd lately. Sarah is confident. Again, Jack is no longer tolerating the path because he views it as a symptom rather than just his mom being his mom. Linda is on her best behavior because she doesn't want to be put in a home. I'm moving out next week back to my place. My work here is done. Mill bullied my sister. I gaslit the MIL into thinking she was going senile, deaf, blind every time she was mean. Now she's too scared to speak up.